why shop just to shop anymore? It's hard to go on a Net-a-Porter or a Moda or a Saks and find something that someone hasn't seen. I think that you can't really teach curiosity to people, but if you invite them into a curious world, they might feel more inclined to ask questions about what it is.
Welcome back to The Materialist, the podcast where we explore the stories behind the objects we bring into our lives. I'm your host, Mark Bridge, the founder and CEO of At Present, and today we're diving into the art of discovery and the power of curation with Alexandra Mack, the visionary founder of Holiday on Madison. Alexandra's career began with the wildly successful jewelry brand Rebecca DiRavenel, but her passion for spotlighting hidden gems led her to create a unique seasonal retail experience. Holiday on Madison is more than just a shop. It's a discovery platform showcasing rare, artisan-crafted pieces from around the world. In this episode, Alexandra shares her journey, her philosophy on style, and how she's redefining what it means to shop with intention. From handcrafted wooden eggs to Venetian glass frames, each item tells a story, just like the people who create them. So settle in as we uncover the magic behind Holiday on Madison and explore the beauty of celebrating the extraordinary. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to The Materialist. I am here today with Alexandra Mack. Alexandra, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
So why don't we start by telling us who you are, what are you working on, and why are you here?
I am an entrepreneur.
She says hesitantly.
I guess categorically that's what I would, yes, I'm an entrepreneur.
Do you start things and then try to grow them?
Yeah, I think that that's what I've kind of turned into. I think that I have a jewelry business, which is where I should start. My best friend Rebecca and I started a costume jewelry company in 2014 out of our apartment in Los Angeles, and growing that business and having it still be alive today is something that probably is one of the most rewarding things that I've definitely done in my career and probably life. It's a big part of my identity. And I think after having that experience as an emerging brand, going around and doing those things and trunk shows and meeting people and having the wholesale retail experience and then building our own direct-to-consumer business, you realize how much you appreciate other people's support and business. And when someone offers to host a trunk show at their house for you, or wear your things and tag you on Instagram, or introduce you to a buyer or a person of influence, that helps so much. And I think having had that experience with our brand, I wanted to do the same thing for other people because I realized how important it was and how much it helped us. So I started Holiday on Madison. This is our second season, but we've been doing iterations of this for a long time with other friends who have small businesses. And originally it started with 6 different brands who were friends of ours who over the holiday season would find a space, split the rent, and do it for a month, standing in front of our own wares, selling our goods. And over COVID, we stopped doing it, obviously, because retail was closed. And last year was the first year that I brought it back. And it was a different concept. So I curated, last year it was about 35 vendors from all over. A lot of them were established. People knew who they were. And it was so well received and so well shopped that I changed the entire concept and platform when we closed our doors at the end of December and thought this should really be a discovery platform. And this should be a place where people in New York come and shop. We don't ship. It's all in person. And I work the whole year to curate what is coming into the store. And so this year we have about 65 permanent vendors, and then we have about 10 trunk shows coming in for a couple of days every week. But you cannot be in Holiday on Madison if you are sold in New York. It really is a discovery platform. A lot of these people are artisans in Europe that I found on my travels. A lot of them have never been to America or New York. And it's supposed to be a very special experience, and I think that if you do have a business yourself, you realize that the holiday sales period really carries you through your year, and it's so important to so many people. Giving people a place to do that in New York, where the price resistance is unlike any other city, and especially on the Upper East Side, is something that's been so helpful to growing other people's businesses. And my hope is really that people will come and shop with me, discover these brands, and then when we close our doors, continue to shop with them the rest of the year.
I want to come back to Holiday on Madison because it's so fascinating, and there are so many parallels, I think, between what you have built and what we are building for at present. But I want to start talking about your jewelry brand.
Okay.
And how you got to that. What in your experience said, all right, now is the time with my friend, we're going to start a jewelry brand?
Truthfully, both of us were doing different things. And I was working for a PR agency in Beverly Hills, doing celebrity and fashion PR. And Rebecca was working for Mark Sykes at the time in LA, who's a decorator, who's also a great friend. And we both would come home at the end of the day and say, we got to figure something out. We were both not feeling completely fulfilled.
Inspiration.
Yeah. But it really wasn't me who had anything to do with the jewelry. It was Rebecca. And Rebecca is an incredibly creative person. And
I suppose we should say the brand is Rebecca DiRavenel.
Yes, the brand is Rebecca DiRavenel. I run the business, and Rebecca's the creative and the face of the brand, which has worked perfectly. And I have to say, a lot of people say don't go into business with your good friends, and we've had a great experience. And I think it's because we do such different things. So Rebecca had relationships with a lot of factories from years of working in fashion before. She had worked for Oscar, and she did PR at Gucci, and she worked all over. And we'd be going to a party, and she'd have something made for herself. And she made the first iteration of these earrings that we started selling, which is called the Bon earring, for a party that she went to. And I borrowed them for a wedding that I went to in St. Bart's, happened to be one of the jewelry editors at Vogue. And sorry, it wasn't a jewelry editor at Vogue. It was a girl who worked at Vogue, and the jewelry editors were there. And everyone went crazy over the earrings. And so I came back from the wedding and said, you got to make these. These are amazing. Everyone loved them. People want to shoot them. And we made them in 6 colors. We made a website. And
was the intent to start a business, or was this here's an opportunity?
Let's see what's going to happen. Since I was doing PR at the time, I said, I'll get them on people on the red carpet. We had all the celebrities were wearing them that first season that we started. I had a lot of support from a lot of the editors that I had been working with. So we had Women's Wear Daily, Bazaar, Vogue. Everyone was shooting the earrings. It was the thing to buy. And actually, Lauren Santo Domingo from Moda Operandi was one of our first supporters who said, okay, we got to get these on Moda. So we did a trunk show, and our business kind of really started from that. And I think that there's something to be said about the fact that to gain the kind of marketing that you gain from having a retail partner in the beginning, which is the backwards trajectory of how people typically start their businesses, it just made a world of a difference for us. And having the support from press, and if you have a good product, you are in a better position. But yeah, we had enormous traction and success early on, and then it was really about figuring out how to create that longevity with keeping it moving and keeping the momentum and growing the collection and introducing new things. And so we still have the brand today, and yeah, that's how it started.
And I'm so interested to understand that relationship between you and your partner. And my sense is that you have a very strong creative sensibility, things in the world, and get very excited about them. But she does all the design.
Yeah, she does the design, and after she creates things, which she works on all year long constantly, and now that we are direct to consumer, we don't have wholesale partners. We do a couple of things with Erin, and we still sell at the Island store in the Bahamas, which is where Rebecca's from, but we're primarily just our own website, and we do in-person things throughout the year. What happens is Rebecca will work on collections and then send them to me. She lives in Portugal. And so I'll talk to her about, okay, maybe we could do this way, or we did that color recently. What about this color? So we play back and forth, but she's fully the design and creative, and the way that she works with colors and materials. And it's amazing. She still comes up with new things every single month. We have new product. Yeah, I help with merchandising.
And do you have a sense after these years of this is going to work and this is not? How predictive are you?
No, not at all. Sometimes we will release something and think it's going to do extraordinarily well. And because our factories are overseas, we have to order the inventory up front and see how they're selling. And the replenishment is, 4 to 8 weeks. So it's sometimes things will perform as we think they will, and sometimes they don't. But I will say during the holidays and in the spring months when it's the bridal season, those are the really elevated months of selling, and we move things quickly. But I think it's still unpredictable.
I ask in part because I have spent my entire life selling jewelry. And the longer I have done it, the more I am convinced my predictive ability is very low.
Yeah.
Right? You see something and you go, this is going to work. Mm-hmm. This is in line with everything that I'm seeing in the world. This is in line with what works for us. And then it doesn't. Mm-hmm. And then you have things you go, all right, this is fun. I'm going to put this out there because I get a kick out of it. And then it works.
Yeah.
Like last summer, we sold just truckloads of blown glass olives. Where did that come from? Oh. I don't know. You can always draw the bullseye after you've shot the arrow. Oh, martinis are having a moment, or this color green. But I don't know. The serendipity of the universe. We sold a whole bunch of fish rings, and right now we're having a tassel moment. Mm-hmm. We have this amazing tassel necklace from one of our partners, Christina Caruso, that's doing extraordinarily well. Why? Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can give you 10 explanations, and I have confidence in none of them.
We also sometimes, it's so funny, sometimes Rebecca will make something and we'll say to each other, we don't love this, but this is going to do really well. And it's so annoying that it's going to do really well, but we know it will. And that we see that happen all the time too.
And then does it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It will.
So your predictive ability is better than mine.
It's on and off. I also think in a perfect world, which isn't necessarily sustainable for a company that's trying to grow and continue, there's something so nice about making a couple of things and only having a couple of people wear them, which is, when you get into a much higher price point, having commission and one-of-a-kind pieces is super special. But for a commercial business, it's harder to pursue that concept.
Yeah. And you're 10 plus years in now. Wow. Has this, sorry, I don't know, that was like, crap. Did you imagine that you would continue to do that for that period of time? Did you have any dreams as to what this was going to be when it grew up?
I always hoped that we would continue doing this for years and years. I think that both of us I think in the beginning when we launched and we had all of that energy and fuel behind us and we were selling thousands and thousands of units of one style, which was unbelievable to see. And Rebecca and I still say to each other to this day, there's nothing better than walking into a room and seeing a random person wearing one of your products.
Yeah.
It never gets old.
Do you remember the first time that happened?
Oh my gosh. It was definitely in New York when we were here. We would come over all the time for market. I don't know if I remember the first actual time that it happened, but they were everywhere. We had also sent an email to all of our friends and family saying, this is our website, please support. And everyone did. It was a price point that was easy to buy into. It was $275 when it started. We had no idea how to price it, and it was, of course, the wrong price. But it's still amazing, and it's still the product that sells the most for us is our original bond. It's a shorter style. We sell a lot of the 3 drops and 2 drops now. But when you see that OG 4 drop in the wild, you're, oh my gosh, you were one of the first.
You were there in the day.
Yeah.
And after building and growing and managing a brand, you said, all right, I'm going to do this retail thing. What was the inspiration?
It didn't even really happen like that. What happened was we hadn't done a big holiday in-person activation for an extended period of time since 2019, which happens to actually be the space that we're in now. And every year we're on a major hustle to find different places where we can do our in-person selling. And so we do a couple of things in New York, a couple of things in Greenwich. We do Palm Beach, we do Boston, we do Texas. And I said at the end of the summer last year, I need to find a space for us and I need to find people to do it, because there's nothing like being in New York on the Upper East Side for a couple of weeks during the holidays. It changes our business. I found a space. At the time, it was a lot easier to find a space because a lot of these spaces had been vacant for 4 years. So the space that I found last year, which was on 67th and Madison, it was the old Anya Hindmarsh flagship store, two levels, and it was vacant since 2020. So I signed the lease. It was a very low price. And I just started emailing people. And I said, hey, I got this space. Would you want to participate? This is what it's going to cost. And we split it up. And then I took a 5% commission from everyone participating to pay for the retail staff and the cleaning and the flowers and all things like that, so that we could self-sustain. And everyone was so excited to be a part of it. It was operationally not perfect yet, but the sales were incredible. And we exceeded our sales goal in the first 2 weeks. And at that point, my husband said to me, you can't really do this out of the goodness of your heart anymore. This has to be a serious business and you need to work on it all year.
Yeah.
And so after we closed our doors at the end of December, I pursued taking it seriously and really looking into curating things that you couldn't find anywhere else. And that's how we grew into this year, which is now almost 70 vendors.
And congratulations, just opened and got a fabulous write-up in Vogue. It seemed like that was a nice thing. And
it was exciting, especially for the international vendors who haven't ever done something like this. It's amazing to have the support of a much larger channel that is also getting behind something that I'm already behind and have been pitching to these people. Yeah, that was very special.
And so what's the pitch? Talk us through the vision and why did it take this shape?
What I did this year was, it's really mainly through Instagram at first. I do this short little romance with every brand that we have. A lot of them I've actually never seen in person, which makes things a little bit more difficult because you obviously sometimes encounter the problem of seeing something in real life and saying, okay, the quality's not up to what I maybe thought it was. And when you're specifically dealing with things that you can't find in New York, if you're not seeing them on your travels or having them send you samples, it's hard to really know if it's amazing in person, which is also something that's important to me, is that I need to be behind what I'm selling. And I think that goes for anyone who wants a successful retail business, is you really need to be behind what you're selling and the people that you're selling. And if you don't, I don't necessarily need to buy it myself and have it myself and love it, but it has to definitely appeal to someone. And a lot of the curation is that as well. It doesn't necessarily need to be for everyone, but there is something for everyone. And a lot of when I traveled this summer, I was on my honeymoon, I stopped and visited a lot of these people. And
it's always good to congratulations, Anne.
Thank you.
And there will be no separation between work and life in this marriage.
Exactly. I'm
Preview
used
of
to
coming
that.
attractions.
So yeah, I think.
And what is the filter? There are so many things that exist in the world, and there are so many things that exist in New York, right? To take all right, I'm going to bring in things that nobody has ever seen before in the greatest crossroads in the world is setting quite a challenge for yourself.
Yes, I would agree with that. I think that a lot of how I started thinking about this, which really primarily was this year, last year it was set up quickly, is I think it started when I was decorating my apartment that I moved into with my husband, finding things that people would walk into your house and say, oh my gosh, where did you get that? What is that? I think the market is so oversaturated, and I think that the retailers that you used to go to find a special piece, everyone has that special piece now. And it's not about price, and it's not about who it is or what it is. It's just that all the good things are everywhere. And I think that the urgency around shopping during the holidays especially is something that's very different to an everyday retail calendar experience. And so how is I going to be different? And how is I going to introduce something that is important to come and buy? And I think that was the strategy for me, was finding things that, I don't want to name retailers, but I'm trying to not name retailers. Finding things that weren't,
as long as it's not mine. I have no slaughter all the cows you want.
Finding things that weren't on every site that all of us shop on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
And
why is that important?
Why is it important to, why shop just to shop anymore? I think the better question is, why aren't people interested in creating collections now? It's always, people have, I'm such a consumer myself, and I love to buy things, and I think a lot of people love to buy things, which is what makes the world go round. But why not change the perspective and the motive to being, okay, I've had this set of 8 glasses for however many years they serve their purpose, but instead of just buying sets of glasses every year, instead of buying the $400 set of glasses, buy this object. It's in the same price point, and that's what I've been introducing and replacing things with. I think that so many people who are especially my clientele uptown have beautiful things. And so what can I sell them that's different that they haven't already bought before or currently from someone else?
Yeah.
And someone came in the other morning. It was my friend's mom. She came in the other morning actually to look at Juju Vera in person. And she said to me, "This is the busiest store on Madison Avenue." I'm shocked. I just came from 12 different shops down the street.
Fill in the blank, yes.
I cannot believe how busy it is in here. And I was like, thank you. That's, people know if they don't come because I have very special one-of-a-kind pieces. And I feel like the word the saying one of a kind of scares people sometimes, because it's like when you see a jacket in a magazine that says price upon request and you're like, oh my gosh,
one of a kind. I don't know how to make the application, but I'm already scared of it.
Exactly. One of a kind, really, it can be $100. It's just that it's coming from an artisan who has made very few. And so people know that's what they're going to see when they come into my shop. And so they know that they have to hurry up and get there and buy it before it's gone, because we won't replenish it, because it's coming from a small studio in Rome and they sent me 7 and that's all I'm getting. And that's all they want me to have. They want the right 7 people to have it and cherish it and come back next year and find the next 7 pieces. So I think it's more of a special relationship with shopping.
Tell us about some of the people that you found. Tell us, is that Roman example an actual one?
Yes, I have a big I've got fabulous Italians in my shop. And actually, one of the reasons for that is because I think that Italian artisans, separate from artisans all over the world, historically, those people are 3rd and 4th generation families who, they didn't start making things for mass consumption. It's really so beautiful, so thoughtful. It's small amounts. It's one person, like you said, it's one person working there on a beautiful couple of products. It's not 500 things that are being shipped to 5,000 people. It's a small,
that have been market tested based on what made.
Yeah, and they don't create things to sell to everyone. And it's a totally different perspective than this Western perspective, an American perspective, really, of just feeding the greed. And I think that, A, that's why I have a lot of Italians, but B, I think if you travel to different Italian cities, unless you know these people exist, you would never walk into their studio. And so for some people who go to Milan or Venice or Rome often and have met these people through people who live in that city, they're tickled to see it in person in New York over the holidays. And if they haven't, they will go visit them the next time that they're there,
right,
which is really nice.
It is so consistent with the animating principle of At Present, which is that for the most sophisticated consumers, they're over the hegemony of global luxury.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I have seen that bracelet up and down everybody's arm. Mm-hmm. Not interesting to me.
Yep.
I can look at that and go, oh, all right. What I know about you is I know how much you spent on that. I have no sense of your taste. I have no sense of where you are from or what you are interested in. And I also just very much align with the idea that there is extraordinary at every price point and in every material. And in jewelry as a space, there's this sort of idea that in order for it to be special, it has to be a precious metal. Like, no, it just has to be good.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to know what are some of the things at the extraordinary level that you found and you're excited about, and what are the things at the stocking stuffer level that you used to go, oh my God, this is cool.
Yeah. So I think at the extraordinary level, we have pieces by Tom Canty, is an amazing jeweler who I was introduced to last year, actually before I opened the shop. And he is one of my favorite people in general, but also a new favorite jeweler of mine who, when I met him, I was told I was the only person in New York that didn't know him. So I was like, oh, really? And he grew up in Silicon Valley.
I'm usually not the last one to know.
Yeah. So he grew up in Silicon Valley, worked in tech, and woke up a year and a half ago and was like, I'm so unfulfilled doing this. I want to start making jewelry. And he studied fine jewelry his whole life and always read and touched and discovered and loved. And we sold, very proudly, 2 very expensive pairs of earrings by him last year. And since then, he's really grown his collection. And we are doing a series of editioned pieces by him this year that are more of a price point that someone can buy walking into the store. And then, of course, from there, he will do commissioned pieces for people. But he's doing these wave rings for me that are a stack of 2, and there's 3 versions of them, and they range from $5,000 to $8,000 for the set. But I think for this particular product, the idea was to have something that was a diamond band that didn't necessarily have to be matrimonial, and creating something cool and different and beautiful that could be a wonderful gift for someone that no one has yet because he's just made them. So I think that Tom is making some great pieces for me, which will be a range of price points. Gilberto Venezia, who is a glassmaker in Venice, he has sent a couple of extraordinary pieces to me. I have frames the size of these windows, 3 of them. 2 have sold, which are made of beautiful glass and then gorgeous velvet textiles that are around $2,000 for the frame. A lot of amazing objects and pieces. Emanuele Pantanella from Rome, which is a woodworker from Rome, they have sent these beautiful wooden eggs, which I think are my favorite thing in the shop. I actually have one in the window right now, which the concept behind the egg, he sent me 7 eggs. The concept behind the egg is, this is where life begins. And so it's something for a mantle or a table. It's just an object. And I love the idea of collecting objects from all over that have a story. And so we have a lot of special things in that category. And then stocking stuffer wise, oh my gosh, we have everything from funny cocktail napkins, which are my personal favorite thing, to ornaments, and we have faux fur hats and mittens and all sorts of fun, sweet things. Yeah.
And you were mentioning, I think before we came on, about how you started a little earlier this year, and the idea is for this to be Christmas gifting, but that so far it has been a lot of self-purchase.
Yes. We opened on Friday. Friday was opening day, so we're on day 4 right now. We had a super busy opening weekend, and the idea was actually really to capitalize on the pre-Thanksgiving sales because so many New Yorkers are in town before Thanksgiving and during Thanksgiving weekend. And right now we've really seen people shopping for themselves, and the whispers around the store are that, okay, I can send my husband back to buy me this, and my parents are going to get me this. And so we're actually working right now on coming up with a little in-store registry where people by appointment can come, meet me at the store, and we'll pick out the things on their wish list so that someone from their family or friends can come in and say,
layaway.
Yeah, so what's on their list? And so you'll be able to shop that way with us starting Thanksgiving weekend.
And do people shop differently for themselves than they do for gifts? I'm interested in that distinction between, all right, I'm going to buy this for myself versus, all right, I need someone else to buy this for me. What is that? Is it price point? Is it kind of type of item?
I find that the things that move the quickest are what people want to wear. And the things that move for gifting are the things that they're okay waiting for. And we've had tons of winter boots and velvet slippers and beautiful velvet jackets and dresses and things like that sell immediately because people want to be wearing it to holiday parties and in the cold weather, the boots. Hasn't been that cold yet, but
65 degrees and sunny today. I'm like, this is...
So I think that right now it's really what I want to be wearing and what I want out on my table. But last year, for example, historically, one of our strongest sellers was tabletop last year. And we're just not moving sets of things yet. But I plan to start setting Thanksgiving tables next week to start moving things like that. People really, I think, respond to how things are presented. I think that merchandising is so important, and you can have things put on one table in the back of the store and then move them up front and they disappear, or vice versa. Hanging a tablecloth on a hanger versus having it folded on a shelf, you move it immediately. So there's little things that, with experience you see and notice, but I think the holiday sales, that's a no-brainer. Right after Thanksgiving it picks up and it starts.
Oh, here's all the stuff that I need to do, and I have, and it's going to be even shorter this year. I have 3 weeks or whatever it is between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Would this concept work year-round, or is there something magical to it being during this window?
A lot of people have asked me this, and a lot of people have asked me if this is going to transition into me opening a store full-time, and the answer is absolutely not.
I have seen the devil, and I am keeping the devil at arm's length.
I have to say, the world would not be the world without full-time brick-and-mortar stores. It's not for us, and it's not what our concept is at all. And I think that the reason why we see the kind of traction and success that we do, it's early on to even say that. I shouldn't even say that. The reason why we
are seeing traction.
The reason why we feel like it is the most successful thing to do for us as a business just during the holiday is because of the urgency for shopping over the holidays. And when you're introducing items that you can't find elsewhere, they fly off the shelves. I don't think that I could ever justify having a 12-month retail store, nor would I really want to.
Yeah.
I think that taking 10 months out of the year or 8 months out of the year to search and discover and find and talk to the people that no one has seen before, that's the important work that needs to be done. And it's not even so that they can be exposed on a level where they get bought up by everyone else. It's just so that we can keep this moving in a way that works for our concept. But no, holidays only.
It's in the name. You can't change it. It would have to be something else.
I know.
Year-round on Madison. Mm-hmm. I had a friend who said once that there are 3 reasons that people buy things. They buy them because they have an occasion. All right, Christmas is coming up. They buy it because there's fear of missing out. If I don't get it now, I'm never going to get it. Or I buy it because there's some price reason. And I think you have cornered 2 of the 3. And the thing that's great about your audience is there's price insensitivity on the 3rd.
Yeah.
And all right, FOMO, check. All right, there's only 7 eggs. Mm-hmm. You don't buy one of these, maybe you'll get one next year. Maybe this is your last chance. All right, I know that I need to give something to my partner for Christmas. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I think there is something that's magical about that combination.
Yeah, I also think that the 4th thing that we have that is so important to us and our community is that you might walk in thinking that you're going to buy something for yourself or your partner or, because of the price point and end up buying a million other things because it is a discovery and you do see something that you've never seen before and you do like it. And that's a big part of our capture also is that people are seeing things for the first time. And so that element is so important to the brand and to the growth and the hopefully stability of what this will turn into.
And how do you bring that to life, right? You've told so many wonderfully evocative stories about these particular people. When I come into the space, How do I get that animated experience about it was made by this guy and he only does this and he's been doing it for 3 generations?
Yeah, I also think that has to do with what kind of person you are. I think that you can't really teach curiosity to people, but if you invite them into a curious world, they might feel more inclined to ask questions about what it is, especially because of price point. I'm at the store every day, so
You are the chief storyteller.
Yeah, so I'll walk around with someone and kind of romance them on everything that's happening there, and that also helps. I think that the right people really care about a story. It's like art, and the right people also don't. They don't need to. They don't need to hear anything about it. They know they like it, and
it's cool. I like it. It's pretty.
They'll take it. Yeah. So it's really just about what kind of experience you want, but we offer both.
And do you find that it's half and half, or 10% of the people care about the story and everybody else is just like, oh, I like the color blue?
I find that a lot of our clients, because it is the neighborhood I live in also, the people who wander in off the street, some people will ask, some people know, and a lot of people will just buy it because it's there. It's a very special demographic, that Upper East Side, Madison area, and the block that we're on is so special.
Describe this world for us, for people who are not familiar with what that is. Who are those people and what does their world look like?
I think that because there's so many age ranges on the Upper East Side specifically, and it's also near office buildings, and it's also near... We're on between 69th and 70th on Madison Avenue. We are directly to the right of the new Totem store, which is really exciting. Prada's on the north corner. We have Destry next to Prada and 2 new brands in between, but it's a really strong block, and it's not surrounded by a lot of restaurants. So the people who are up there are really shopping. A lot of the people who come in, I thought today, for example, I thought it was going to be a slow morning and I could run around and do some remerching and replenishing, and there's a line at the door at 11 a.m. and people are around uptown and they're there to shop. There's no price resistance. They are very much happy to see what's going on, interested in new things. Madison Avenue, as big as it is, it's also small. And so when you see a new store like that, people automatically come right in. And it's a special neighborhood for sure, because it's a much lower price resistance. So you see things move much quicker. And for retail, I think that it's, out of all the places I've done things in, it's ideal. It's why we anchored down on Madison.
Yeah. It's holidays and it's Madison.
And it's Madison.
It says so on the tin. Mm-hmm. Tell us about your style. Tell us about the things that you bring into your world.
I would say my style changes all the time. I'm not someone who is a Carolyn Bessette Kennedy person or I'm not in one box at all. I think depending on the things I find and see, it changes. In the summer, I'm super prints and colors and fun. And then sometimes I'm in my all navy or all black or very simple. I love accessories. Obviously, I'm a huge accessory person. The one standard I do have is I like a nice shoe, and I won't really play around with fun shoes. I like a nice shoe.
And what do you define as a nice shoe? What are the requirements to be a nice shoe?
No, not nice in meaning like it has to be luxury label or anything like that, but I guess more of, what time is it? It's 2:30 and I'm in a heel.
Yeah.
I think footwear is important, I guess is the better way to say it. I love a fun bag. I'm not a designer bag pusher. I very much love a fun bag. This is Rue de Vernil. We're selling these really right now.
Love that. This is a black and gray pinstripe, almost like a little baby toad.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
Gold hardware.
All fabric, though.
Don't click here to buy because you can't buy it. So.
I think that it's fun to find new things and play around, and depends on the mood you're in and depends on what you're doing or where you're going. I think that it's fun to play with your style. Yeah. I don't have a specific style.
Where did that sensibility come from? Is that something that you got growing up?
Yeah, I think I've always been interested in fashion and how people dress and looking at... I grew up in a household where there were always the magazines there and tons of books. And my mom's a decorator and she used to work in fashion. So I've always been around it. And yeah, it's always been on my radar without really knowing it.
What is inspiring you at the moment?
Ooh, I would say probably materials of mediums that people are working in. You'll see a lot of glass and wood. I'm wearing a lot of silver right now.
Yeah, the cuff that you're wearing is fabulous.
Yeah, this is amazing. This is silver plated. It's not real. It's Jujuvera, but this is real silver. I'm really into materials right now. So I think cashmere, wood, glass, anything that kind of looks like special or that you want to learn more about it. That's what I'm into right now.
Yeah. Tell us about the necklace.
So the necklace is Jujuvera. She's a vendor. Where
is she from?
I think she's a New Yorker.
Yeah.
She hand dropped off all of her pieces. A few friends of mine started wearing this this necklace, and I started seeing it around. And then one of my best friends was wearing it in a different kind of material. It's with a Roman coin on it, and I thought it was real. And so I said to her, "Oh, where did you get that?" And she said, "It's Jujuvera." I was like, "Oh my gosh, you're kidding. I've seen the gem ones. I haven't seen the Roman coin one." And because she's someone who dresses very beautifully, I thought it looked real.
Right.
So I was like, "Wow, how much was that?" And she said $5.95, and I was like, "Oh my gosh." So I messaged Juju on Instagram, and I was like, "I'm opening this concept shop. I would love for you to be a part of it." I, as a general rule, do not carry other jewelry in my store aside from Rebecca DiRavenel.
Yeah.
It's our big season. It's our amazing season, and no competitors
you gotta dance
with
with
that.
the one that brung you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So Juju, because it's so different and it's really necklace core, we brought her in, and Rebecca actually was really sweet. Rebecca texted me and was like, "I can't believe you have Jujuvera. I love her. I can't wait to see it." So
oh, good. All right. Well,
she's the only other jewelry, and then Tom Canty's fine jewelry, of course. We're going to have select Marlo Laz pieces, but it's really just, it's simple. What I really love about Jujuvera is that she didn't do a massive collection. She offers 4 things. She offers beautiful cuffs and bracelets. She offers, which is different metals of the same style. She offers this necklace, a simple necklace, and then a few fine pieces, which are real, that are in the $3,000 range. And then she has a couple of tabletop pieces. She makes a beautiful silver ashtray and 2 lighters. But it's tight, it's good, and in my opinion, it's easy for the customer to say, okay, make a decision. And her transactions have been quick, even with opening weekend. Sold so many just because it's easier.
There's no decision paralysis.
Yeah, it's easier to look at a tiny assortment and say, okay, perfect, I'll take this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were talking about how much of the inspiration for this came from decorating your home. Are you a collector of design objects? Are you a collector of furniture? What inspires you in other spaces?
I've always been the person who, if I'm in Greece in a market, I buy like the random trinket. And when you bring it home, my husband always would say to me, like, we were in Mexico City and there were these glass hearts and I bought 12 of them. And he was like, "Why are you buying the glass heart here? This is so crazy. What are you going to do with those glass hearts?" And I keep them in a beautiful glass bowl on a table. And everyone who walks into my apartment says, "Where did you get the glass hearts?" And so that's an example of...
Did you have that vision when you saw the hearts? You just said, "I like those hearts. I will do something with them."
I know I'll do something with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
you didn't see the entry table. You just go, "Yeah, that's cool.
No,
I'll do something with it."
Yeah. And then we have tiles from Ravello that sit on a street corner that people typically build tables out of, and they ship them back to the U.S. And I bought a couple random tiles, and we use them next to the sink for the soap and paper towels and under the coffee maker and things like that. I've always been a trinket hoarder.
Yeah.
Where I see something I like and I buy a couple of them. And it doesn't necessarily have to be nice or special. I think that's what makes it nice and special, is that you found them and you like them and it has a story and it's from somewhere that you see it and you think of where you were when you bought it. And I think that's really nice. And I hope that will happen with the objects that I started bringing into Holiday on Madison, is that it won't be, oh, I bought this in New York, it'll be, oh, I got this holiday on Madison, but it's from here and it's from here and it's from here. And so I think I've taken what I do when I'm on my trips and I've tried to bring it in and do that so that other people can feel that feeling of it's exciting to have something that not a lot of people have.
Yeah, no, you are the curator. You have built that discovery platform. I'm curious, we talked about how particular this opportunity is. Do you think that general boredom with hegemony is broader than 20 blocks of the Upper East Side?
I think there's a couple of people who, I obviously study this intensely, so I think that there's a couple of people who have their year-round shops and do it really well. Jamie Creel and Marco Scarani, who have Creel and Gow on the Upper East Side, for example, they're an example of a shop that every time I walk in there, it's a discovery for me, and it's so special. A lot of people don't know about it. I think that it's hard to go on a Net-a-Porter or a Moda or a Saks or whatever it might be and find something that someone hasn't seen. And I think that Matches used to do a really good job of finding emerging brands, and
of blessed memory. Yeah,
I know, and it was sad for me when they closed because I thought that they were one of the few that did a really good job at curating emerging brands, and I would find a lot of new pieces that way. But once someone does it, everyone else finds it, and then it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, by the way. I think it's totally fine to be buying into things that look really good that everyone's selling. But I think holiday specific, it's harder to do something special for people. And so that's where I want to sit in the market.
Yeah. I ask out of curiosity and also out of selfishness a little bit, because I thought that there was enough saturation of all of the big label things, and that would diminish over time. And over the 5 years that I have operated this business, the opposite has happened. You have actually seen that the big brands have gotten stronger. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's the hollowing out of the middle, which is what we've seen in so many areas. Yeah. And talented artists and artisans will always have an opportunity because they just create great things. But I don't know. I think the jury is still out in my mind as to if that's actually how the world is moving.
Yeah, I think the only way I can wax off of that would be when Rebecca and I first started making the bonbons, everyone started knocking them off. And you'd even go to Soho and like the little stands there would be selling bonbons, and we were like, "Oh my God, how did this happen?" And it used to really upset us. And then tons of designers started knocking us off, but it used to really upset us, but you know, the right people will always buy the real thing. Yeah. And the right people will always go to the good place. And I think that, you know, these really strong designer labels, you know, look at how much transition there's been recently. I think that there's definitely a sense of agreement with what you're saying, that they want to make sure that doesn't happen, that people aren't sick and bored of things, and that there is the next new bag, even though they just had the last it bag of the season, or that there's constantly something happening that is exciting and fresh and new. And I don't think that world of designer buying will become obsolete.
Yeah.
I also think that I always think about Barney's as being like the biggest hole, which is so sad to me still, because I used to love going to Barney's. I actually thought that they were, I really miss Barney's. But yeah. I think that shopping in person will never go away. Look at what's happening in Europe right now. You can't walk into a designer store in Paris without an appointment. There's lines everywhere. And I wonder...
Which is a mark of success or failure?
I wonder if it's also a decision. Like, are we doing this to create even more of a demand? Do you really need to be doing that? I don't know. I think that I don't think that the designer in-person shopping will go away. I do think that multi-brand retailers, brick and mortar, that becomes harder with all of the e-commerce that's happening that's so successful. But to walk into a designer store and not want something.
Yeah. The Matches example, the Barney's example, which I was thinking about earlier, it's just sort of interesting. Mm-hmm. Like, I think in both those cases there were, exogenous financial reasons or financing reasons why those businesses didn't work. But, I don't know. The vanilla serves all flavors seems to be more durable than we have a point of view.
Yep.
Maybe at least just at scale.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, interesting. Last question that I always like to ask, and I'm particularly eager to ask you because you have seen so many wonderful things and continue to find wonderful things. Who are 3 people who you think should have more exposure in the world that you want to have a larger audience?
One of them I did talk about briefly, which was Emanuele Pantanella. I think that what they're doing, again, they're third-generation woodworkers out of Rome, and I think the pieces that they're creating are so special. And I think if more people, hopefully I think there's probably thousands of them out there, but hopefully people appreciate the small collections and pieces that artisans are selling as much as I do. I think that they're really special, and I could see that. I hope that they have a larger audience that they'll meet here in New York. And then I would say Marfala, which is it's 2 girls, Maria and Rafa Echeverri, I was actually introduced to Maria right when I moved back to New York in 2018. They are very special sisters, actually, who have a branding creative agency, who can do anything from a 2-hour special activation where you just want something thoughtful and thorough and amazing. You take a meeting with them and they talk about scent and what it smells like walking into something that they're doing. And they did our branding for Holiday on Madison, but they also do a huge range of things they do weddings now. They did my wedding, actually. They do weddings, they do they'll do anything. And I think that they are someone who should have a lot more recognition at this point in their career than they do. And then the third, I was going to say Tom Canty, but I spoke about Tom Canty. The third, I would say Essential Hogar is a tabletop brand who I've just seen enormous growth in her collection since I first discovered her, which I think is so impressive. She started with textiles, and she's now doing this amazing silver-plated collection of tumblers and ice buckets and water carafes, and it's a very special holiday item to give people and also to buy for yourself. But I'm interested to see how her collection continues to progress and what she introduces to her tabletop as she continues and grows.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Alexandra Mack, thank you.
Thank you. This
Such
was really
a joy
nice
to meet you. Thank you for coming and chatting with us. You are the quintessential materialist, so we were delighted to have you.
Thank you so much. This was really nice.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of The Materialist, and thanks again to Alexandra Mack. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and subscribe to The Materialist on whatever platform you enjoy listening to your podcasts. The Materialist is a production of At Present, Matchmaker to Extraordinary Jewelry.